For most machines, time is an enemy. Metal fatigues, electronics age, ideas expire. Aircraft are especially unforgiving. Fighters disappear in decades. Bombers are replaced even faster. Entire fleets vanish when doctrine shifts. And yet one aircraft refuses to leave. The B-52 Stratofortress first flew in 1952. Harry Truman was president. Jet engines were unreliable. Intercontinental missiles barely existed. Most of the world assumed it would be temporary, a stopgap, a Cold War relic, something that would quietly retire once something better arrived. 70 years later, the B-52 is still flying. Not preserved, not ceremonial, operational. And the question is no longer why is it still around? The real question is, why has nothing replaced it? The B-52 was not designed to be elegant. It is large, unapologetically so. Its wings stretch wider than a football field. Its landing gear looks improvised. Its engines, 8 of them, hang like an afterthought. It does not look modern. And that is exactly why it works. The B-52 was built for a single reality. War changes. Aircraft that survive must change with it. Speed was never the B-52's advantage. Stealth was never its strength. Agility was never expected. What it had was something far more valuable: margin. The Stratofortress was designed when engineers still feared the unknown. They overbuilt everything: the structure, the wings, the payload capacity. They assumed mistakes would be made. They assumed missions would change. They assumed future requirements would be heavier, not lighter. That assumption turned out to be prophetic. Because every new generation of weapons weighed more, required more power, demanded more flexibility. And the B-52 had room for all of it. Most aircraft are built around their weapons. The B-52 was built around the idea of weapons changing. When nuclear bombs gave way to cruise missiles, it adapted. When dumb bombs gave way to precision-guided munitions, it adapted. When standoff weapons became the priority, it adapted again. The aircraft didn't need to be redesigned, only reimagined. This is where most comparisons fail. People ask why the B-52 outlived newer bombers. The answer is uncomfortable. Because newer bombers were optimized, and optimization is fragile. Aircraft like the B-1 or B-2 were built for very specific moments in history, very specific threats, very specific doctrines. They are extraordinary machines, but they are specialists. The B-52 is not. It is a platform, a flying foundation, and platforms age differently. The B-52 doesn't need to enter enemy airspace. It doesn't need to outrun fighters. It doesn't need to dodge radar. Modern warfare moved to fight outward. Missiles fly farther. Sensors see deeper. Targets are struck from hundreds of miles away, and suddenly, speed mattered less than persistence, range mattered more than stealth, payload mattered more than elegance. The B-52 was built for exactly this future by accident. A single B-52 can carry more weapons than an entire squadron of fighters, not because it is advanced, but because it is big. Big wings mean long endurance. Long endurance means global reach. Global reach means political leverage.
The B-52 Stratofortress has been the premier...
The B-52 does not just destroy targets, it waits, it loiters, it reassures allies, it pressures adversaries. Its presence is strategic long before it is tactical.
Showing them that we're here and have their backs.
And that presence is not subtle. The sound of a B-52 overhead is unmistakable, deep, heavy, intentional. It does not sneak into a conflict. It announces that one has arrived. This is why the aircraft remains relevant, because dominance is not always about surprise. Sometimes dominance is about inevitability. The knowledge that no matter where you are or how far you think you are from danger, something can reach you. The B-52's most important upgrades were not structural, they were cognitive, avionics, networking, targeting. The aircraft became a node in a system, connected to satellites, connected to drones, connected to command centers half a world away. The airframe remained old, the mind became modern. And this combination is rare. New aircraft struggle to integrate legacy weapons. Legacy aircraft struggle to integrate new software. The B-52 somehow does both, not because it is perfect, but because it has space. Space for power, space for wiring, space for growth. There is another reason the B-52 survives, one no specification sheet will show: institutional memory. Generations of crews have flown it, maintained it, fought with it. Its quirks are known, its failures are understood, its limits are mapped. Replacing the aircraft would mean replacing all of that knowledge, and knowledge in warfare is priceless.
This is why the U.S. Air Force plans to keep the B-52 flying into the 2050s, nearly a century after its first flight. With new engines, new radars, new weapons, the silhouette will remain, because changing it would gain little and risk much. The irony is hard to miss. The bomber designed for nuclear apocalypse found its greatest value in restraint, in precision, in persistence, in deterrence without escalation. It became less about ending the world and more about preventing that outcome. The B-52 was never supposed to dominate this long. It survived not because it was the best at any one thing, but because it was good enough at many things and adaptable when those things changed. That is not accidental. It is a lesson. Technology does not age out because it is old. It ages out because it refuses to change. The B-52 never made that mistake. So when people ask why the Stratofortress still dominates after 70 years, they are asking the wrong question. They assume dominance comes from superiority. Sometimes it comes from endurance, from humility in design, from accepting that the future will be different and leaving room for it. The B-52 does not define modern warfare, it survives it. And in doing so, it reminds us of something uncomfortable. Progress is not always about replacing the old. Sometimes it is about understanding why it still works. The Stratofortress was not built to last forever. It simply refused to be unnecessary, and that may be the most dominant trait of all.